day here is that you need at least half the members of this House for an impeachment process to go through. The threshold was extremely low in this particular instance. And therefore, I want to agree with the thinking to raise the threshold so that the threshold is a bit higher, and on flimsy grounds, somebody cannot just be removed as a CEC, so that people are able to take their duties. You can imagine, Mr. Speaker, with the diversity of our counties, if a member of a county executive committee, for example, was to fall out with MCAs, say, from a particular sub-county, on account of a decision that has been taken in the greater interest of the entire county, Mr. Speaker, you know what will happen is that that particular CEC, simply on the account of petty little politics, can lose their job. And yet, you know, up to now, we don't have sufficient jurisprudence on what happens when somebody is impeached. In fact, this afternoon I met Governor Sonko, one of the victims of an impeachment process of this House, where it was clearly demonstrated to us on this House that threshold was not achieved at the County Assembly of Nairobi. Yet, like I've explained earlier, there are many things that happen in an impeachment exercise. Senator Makueni knows this because he appeared here as advocate for Governor Sonko in that impeachment hearing. He knows what happened. And I'm not sure how Senator Wambua voted in that one, Mr. Speaker. But you know, Mr. Speaker, impeachments have become political processes, yet they have very serious legal and constitutional consequences. So we cannot afford to just allow that anybody, even this one of Senate, I want to still suggest that we need to exercise our mind better. The only unfortunate thing is that it is a constitutional threshold, because it doesn't matter the process. What matters at the end is when they eventually call Godfrey Osoti, Senator for Vihiga, then you rise and say, I vote yes or no. At the end of the day, there's no, it doesn't matter the process that it has gone through. Eventually, or you abstain, like many people, there are people who used to abstain here, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, as we support this bill, it should also be noted, Mr. Speaker, as I heard the majority leader say, this patchwork, maybe at some point we may need to deal with it and come up with a complete legislation, especially on the matter of the removal from office of both the Senate, both the governors and members of the executive in the counties. I say this, Mr. Speaker, because the county assemblies must be supported to continue to exercise the provisions of Article 185 of the Constitution to oversight the executives, but they should also respect the principle of separation of powers between themselves and the executives. I am of the view, Mr. Speaker, that actually the place where we should have started, and I saw it starting here, is that on the hearing of the first impeachment motion on the floor of the Senate, the fourth Senate, I saw the majority whip give an undertaking to this House that he was going to be working very closely with the Committee on Devolution to come up with an impeachment bill, an impeachment law. There are senators here who would have wanted to sponsor that bill. But because the whip took the responsibility and said he was going to bring the bill to the floor, those other senators who wanted to do it took a back seat. Mr. Speaker, it is my humble request to the majority whip and the Committee on Devolution to take this matter a little bit more seriously. I say they should take it a little bit more seriously, Mr. Speaker, because we have seen governors go through anguish and pain of impeachment for reasons other than the provisions of the Constitution on removal of governors. There are governors who are out of office today, Mr. Speaker, for extra constitutional reasons. Mr. Speaker, I would dare, because Senator Cherargei, while contributing to this motion, made reference to me and where I stood on the impeachment of Governor Sonko. I want to remind this House and this country that to date, I believe that there were no grounds for the removal of Governor Sonko from office. And that he was removed for other reasons, not because of the breach of the Constitution, but for other reasons. And Mr. Speaker, what has happened is that now a very young leader, very robust, a man of the people, cannot hold public office because he was impeached for extra constitutional reasons. Mr. Speaker, what we are saying is the Committee on Devolution, if Senator Alwale, for whatever reasons, is unable to move fast, let the Committee on Devolution take up this matter and bring a bill so that we debate and put in place proper requirements for impeachment of governors. Mr. Speaker, some of the things that we are being treated to in this House are personal vendetta. Somebody has disagreed with their political party. This House has no business fixing disputes in parties. That is not our problem. Or somebody maybe has a business has gone sour with some other people. It is not the business of this House to fix those relationships. Mr. Speaker, we need a watertight impeachment law. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I would dare say that we as a House, we as Parliament, have failed this country. We have failed this country because when you look at Article 181 of the Constitution, and Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, for purposes of clarity, I would want to read a section of that provision. Article 181(2) of the Constitution on removal of a county governor. It says, Parliament shall enact legislation providing for the procedure of removal of a county governor on any of the grounds specified in Clause 1. Mr. Speaker, we are required by the supreme law of the land to come up with an impeachment law. We have not done that. Now, what is going to happen, Mr. Speaker, is that the lower house will realize that we are dilly-dallying on this matter, and you will see them originate an impeachment law from the lower house, and they will just bring it here for concurrence. And yet, Mr. Speaker, we are the people charged with the responsibility of protecting and defending devolution and county governments. Mr. Speaker, with those remarks, I want to support the threshold, the enhancement of the threshold for removal of CECs. But as I say, Mr. Speaker, we must also be very, very careful to strike a balance so that, again, we also don't curtail the operations of the county assemblies, because it is their responsibility, it is their constitutional mandate to hold county executives to account. Mr. Speaker, lastly.
Let's say, for example, if the CSs are not working and if they cannot deliver, all the accusation goes to the president. Anybody who stands accuses the president, and yet they are the CSs who are failing in their dockets which they are given to deliver. And so that should also be looked into so much at the same time at the count level. Because if, before we declare the governor has failed, the CECs will be the first people to fail. Why? Because the governors have given them a docket to assist them. If the governors could deliver at the count level on their own, they could not appoint the CECs. The same thing with the president and the CSS. So there's a gap there somewhere, and that gap is what should be looked at in this Senate, so that we can streamline things. At the same time, the MCRs in the county assemblies are not doing their work of oversighting the governors because they have no fund. What has made this Senate or the government of the executive, the president and the lawmakers, not to give the MCS a fund so that they can be independent? Because as long as they depend on the governors to be able to deliver to their wards, they will never do the right oversight that they should do to the governors. So to enable them to work, we must find a way of them getting direct money. When I was in BBI, we had recommended that they get 20 million directly to them to be able to work in their wards, so that they are not at the mercies of the governors, and so that they can be able to oversight the governors properly without fear of that there will be no development in their wards. And because if they don't have any developments in their wards, then they'll risk their re-election. And so as we protect us here as senators, we should also protect the MCRs. And because we are defenders of devolution, we should check and make sure that the governors are doing the right thing that they are supposed to do, and the MCRs also are doing the right thing that they should do, and the CECs are also doing the right thing that they should do. I think with those few remarks, I support, but with those many amendments. And let's check even from the top. Because if we only correct things at the county level and we don't correct things at the national level, then we will not be doing anything. So this law that Cherega you have brought up, and the one that Karungo Senator has brought up, you should sit down and see where the gaps are and make sure that it flows from the executive in the National Assembly and down to the county assemblies, and that will be very good. Two, I've heard so many stories about Sonko's impeachment. At that time, then I was not in the Senate, but I've heard so many of the senators talk that Sonko was impeached for no good reason. And maybe not only Sonko, maybe others. We should look at the thresholds of impeachment for governors and make a law that will work and will be, okay, it will not be compromised by either the Senate or even the county assemblies. And that will help us to move forward as a nation.
Honorable Speaker, an MCA today is earning a place like Marsabit, earns about 140, 150,000. Let me give you an example. An MCA from Ilret, Marsabit to Ilret is almost over 500 kilometers. It takes you 2 days to go to Ilret. The road is very, very bad. Security is bad. And you expect this man to travel all the way to Ilret. The fuel he's going to use is about not less than 50, 60,000 going and coming back. The same MCA is having issues in the villages, whether it's a wedding program, funeral, Harambes, it's doing small jobs. And then you expect the same MCA to come and work and make laws in the county assemblies. Honorable Speaker, we need, if you want to change this, laws, to amend the laws, you need also, or we need also, to help our MCS to at least get a salary not less than 400,000 per month, if you want them to do a very good job. Some people are saying MCS are removing governors, even deputy governors. But this is an influence. They can be influenced from outside there to remove a governor or a deputy governor. That can be done because they don't have even money to do their own personal things, like taking their children to school. Honorable Speaker, I'll tell you today, how do you expect an MCA to oversight a CEC who is earning over 400,000? How can that be possible? It is not possible. He cannot work efficiently because he's not being paid well. If you want efficient control of the county, you need to pay our MCS well. Honorable Speaker, this proposed amendment needs to be looked at and add, or in fact, we need to add a few things. Honorable Speaker, the issue of the governors. Honorable Speaker, I met Governor Sonko about an hour ago in these premises. And the way Governor Sonko was removed, if there is a way of even asking the Governor Sonko to bring a petition to this House, because the way he was removed is totally, I think, is unconstitutional and also very irregular. Honorable Speaker, you know, when these laws of impeaching governors should be looked at, we need to do amendments. That amendment that can go even as far as after they've been impeached in this House. This matter needs to go to the courts for the courts to say, yes, this person was removed regularly. Honorable Speaker, some people are saying Governor Sonko was removed from up there, but I want to differ with those people because the same senators, some of them are here even now, they're in this parliament. They removed Sonko. If they wanted to defy the issue of up there, they should have said no. Simple. Say, no, we're not going to remove this person. So the issue of removing somebody, and I'm very grateful, I'm happy that our president is not following that trend. He says no, because he goes to church every Sunday, and he believes in God. Honorable Speaker, removing our governor, elected by, in some instances, over 500,000 voters by about 30 to 40 people, is really not the right thing to do. Honorable Speaker, if you look at Article 181, it says removal of a governor. C talks about abuse of office and gross misconduct. What is this gross misconduct? Like when we removed the deputy governor, they were talking about the deputy governor for Kisii. They were talking about money that was sent to him, 800,000. Is that gross misconduct? This is what we need to know, or to even think of, or even discuss, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, I will say I'm happy with this bill, but we need to do further amendments. And even talking on the issue of governance, we need to discuss, we need to have a discussion. I have a proposed bill, amendment, on the governors coming before this House. And we are just discussing on which particular day is is convenient for the House and the management of this House. So anytime we agree on, I think this proposed bill will come before this House. And I'm sure Honorable Cherargei will support me on that. Honorable Speaker.
It is important that this is proposed, that the threshold is increased from a third to 2/3, so that there are good grounds to remove a CEC from office. Mr. Speaker, when a CEC is working under fear and they are not sure for how long they could remain in office, then they may not even perform their duties well. So this will make them accountable, and as they perform their duties without fear, then they will deliver. As the Senate, we are to protect and take care of devolution. Then devolution will work. Mr. Speaker, I am also concerned about the independence of county assemblies. How I pray that the mover of the bill will also include the independence of county assemblies. When the county assemblies have their financial autonomy, then they will perform their oversight duties effectively. Mr. Speaker, it is important that we have clear threshold of removal from office of public servants. When political or personal differences are used to remove a governor or a CEC from office, it is not right. And this I want to give the example of His Excellency Governor Sonko, who was removed from office from unclear reasons or grounds. Maybe because of political interest, maybe because of personal hatred, and this young man of this country cannot serve in any other public office. Mr. Speaker, I repeat, it is very important to have clear grounds and to increase this threshold for impeachment. Our duties as the senators in this House is to make sure that Kenyans are served effectively. And if there are people who feel that they have been removed from office because of victimization, like Mike Sonko, what are we telling the young generation who are looking up also to take up leadership positions in this country? Mr. Speaker, allow me to add my voice slightly on the intimidation of our staff, sacking of our staff, just because of making Kenyans know things that are not done right in the assemblies or in the parliament or in the Senate. Because when the media brought it up, that the incomplete Bunge Towers, it's when things were done hurriedly, and some of us who have been suffering in squeezed offices, then were relocated to other offices. Mr.